Hey there, here's a quick wiki video for your troubles. Also, pardon my voice, my allergies are currently tearing me a new one. Anyhow, quick reminder as usual, but in this series we go over the trivia section at the bottom of each wiki page and talk about things I thought were interesting. Today's video will start with Zero Suit Samus and go to Diddy Kong. So starting with Zero Suit, it's mentioned how when she uses her side smash with the Star Rod equipped, her model will not shake during the charge period. Normally, a character undergoes that little shake when they charge a smash attack of any kind, before it suddenly stops, usually indicating that you've entered the extra allotted charge time unique to this game. But yeah, basically they shake. And this isn't different from most battering items, as they also make you shake while you charge them. All of them except for the Star Rod. Knowing how the animation is supposed to work makes this look extra cursed. And no, this doesn't get carried over into any of her other smash attacks, just the side smash where the Star Rod actually gets used. Like sure, the home run bat also doesn't cause any shaking, but that animation is way more unique and isn't really a charging attack. And yeah, like I said, this is just for Zero Suit Samus, at least from what I can tell. I don't know of any other examples with the Star Rod, but for other characters, it's normal. Now the wiki does mention that this same error happens with Byleth and the Death Scythe, but I didn't see this happen, so I just have to imagine that it's been patched if this was ever the case, just an FYI. Next, speaking of charging smash attacks, I don't know how many people are aware of this, but usually when a character charges a smash attack, there's a series of effects that play, highlighting around a particular area that looks like this. Generally speaking, they're supposed to highlight the area of danger on the character's model, more or less. So like for Wario's up smash, the effects play near his head, which is what attacks. For his down smash, they play near his waist and butt, which is kinda where the power is going for the move. And for his forward smash, it's a bit disconnected from anything, but generally they're close to his fist, etc, etc. For Zero Suit Samus, this is also generally the case. Her up smash has the effects play near her gun, as that's what causes the whip and whatnot, and her down smash doesn't actually have it at all, but this is probably because the charging animation of the gun itself has plenty of effects that give off the same idea. I think a lot of people probably didn't even know about this feature to begin with, but what's funny is that for Samus' side smash, the effects play over her gun. This is despite the fact that her side smash uses her legs, or rather her fancy boots. This is likely a carryover from Brawl, because in that game she actually did use her gun whip for her forward smash, but going into Smash 4 they changed it to what we know of today. Next up for Wario, it's mentioned how in his showcase trailer, as well as many other sources of pre-release content, his main overalls alt is shown with gold buttons, despite the appearance normally having white buttons, which was of course fixed upon final release. While the button colors for Wario do vary from alt to alt, all of the other overall costumes actually do have golden buttons, which is generally how they have worked in the past, so that's probably how that error came to be. They might have just reused some of the older assets for the other alts, or maybe they just tried to make it matching without knowing, I don't know. Speaking of Wario's overalls, the wiki brings up a little glitch with this set of alts where, for effects like getting inked or using the metal box, effects that cover the character in something, Wario's face gets completely covered before everything else does, and is the last thing to disappear when the effect goes away. This has been in the game for a while and yet has not been patched, despite me definitely covering it on this channel. However long ago that was, I really don't remember. Oh yeah, speaking of things I've gone over before, the wiki also talks about a glitch from the past that has been patched out, where Wario's forward throw would only have one of its two hits connect with Ganondorf, resulting in very minor damage loss overall, which was weird. Again, this was covered on the channel before. I'm still debating whether or not I should cover trivia that I've already brought up on the channel before. I usually try to make it a point to not repeat myself unless it's to give a refresher for a different fact, especially since I like to encourage people to watch my very large catalog of content if they're new to the channel. But this is a new series, and also some of these facts were things I covered a long time ago. YouTube analytics do tell me that the majority of my viewers are not first time, but that still leaves plenty of first timers. And for these non-first timers, there's no telling what other videos they have and have not watched. Alright, basically just tell me your thoughts below, if either of those Wario facts were new to you and whatnot, and if you want me to talk about old facts going forward, for this series at least. But for now, let's just move on to Snake. First, a prompt mentions how Ultimate is the third time that Snake, Simon, and Bomberman were in the game together. This is a very random combination of characters, I think. But what really gets me about this prompt is that this is the third time they've been together, apparently. The other times were in Dream Mix TV World Fighters and Super Bomberman R, I guess. Like, I don't know, it just really caught me off guard how weirdly specific this prompt was. So good for these three. Anyways, that was all for Snake. So moving on to Ike. First it mentions a funny little error in his character showcase video once again. When you see him using Grey Ether, his portrait displays him in the Radiant Dawn outfit, even though he's actually using the Path of Radiance outfit. The one in the trailer is slightly different from the current Radiant Dawn portrait, but the overall design is the same, and you know, it's not the Path of Radiant design in any way. You know, there seem to be a lot of errors in these videos. Well, either errors or things that just changed in development, I guess. I think they're all interesting to point out. Speaking of Ike's alts, it's also mentioned how the Ike amiibo selects his Radiant Dawn alternate costume by default, even though the game uses his Path of Radiant alt as his main appearance, being the first slot and whatnot. This is obviously because Smash 4 used his Radiant Dawn design, and the amiibo was from that time, so it makes sense that the scan comes out that way. But what this ends up meaning is that Ike is the only veteran character who currently has no amiibo that can scan his default costume. And once all the DLC characters have their amiibo released in the 2030s, then he'll be the only character in general. Assuming they don't make a Path of Radiance amiibo anytime soon, which I doubt. Also, yeah, I know that you can like change which alt the amiibo is using afterwards, but I'm just referring to which appearance is default, both in how the amiibo itself looks and what gets scanned initially. Next, it's mentioned how Ike is the only returning character from Brawl whose codec conversation can't be triggered through his alternate look, aka the Radiant Dawn look. Normally, the way to start this is the same as the other similar in-game conversation things, by hitting down taunt for 1 frame. Using the training mode frame by frame feature doesn't seem to work for this, but it's not a hard input. However, if you do this when Ike's Radiant Dawn alpha is out, nothing happens. The input will never work, and I know I'm not just failing it consistently. This is the same thing that happens for all new characters from Smash 4 onwards, there's just no codec conversation. It's interesting that Ike's alt is included in this. Even though it's technically a new appearance from Brawl, the same thing can be said about Alf, Olimar's alternate costume type, who is added in Smash 4. Codec calls work just fine for him. Sure, they name Olimar rather than Alf, but hey, we still get something at least. So it's really weird. Also, I gotta say, it's kinda disappointing to me that they didn't make new lines for their new characters, but I get why. Takeshi Aono, the Japanese voice actor for Roy Campbell, had passed away in 2012, and I guess they've just tried to respect him by not having Roy Campbell appear in future titles. Though that's not necessarily a confirmed reason for the codec calls in Smash not getting expanded, but you know. At least we got new lines in the Palutena's guidance, which were cool. I mean, we only got a stock conversation for any of the DLC, but whatever. Also, for the Star Fox variants of all this, its lines actually don't depend on who you're fighting or anything, but rather it just depends on where the stage's background is. That's why it might take a while for it to appear after you initiate the special taunt, since it has to wait until a new background area is warped to in order to begin. Anyways, lastly for Ike, it's mentioned how there's a little visual glitch for his cape that shows the looping point of his Aether, which we can easily see with our infinite portal setup. This is pretty similar to the Gandor fact we went over not too long ago. It's kinda goofy. Alright, moving on to Pokémon Trainer. First, it's mentioned how the trainer's Pokémon don't appear on the victory screen if there are 3 or more characters on the winning team, nor on the no contest screen at all. However, despite this, if you perform the best in the match and are thus the center of the victory screen, and we're currently using Ivysaur, in the victory animation you'll actually be able to hear Ivysaur even though he's not there.
You all did great!
This is not the case with Squirtle or Charizard either, which is interesting. This prompt also mentions how when Pokémon Trainer loses all stocks but still wins the team match, the Pokémon they have with them on the victory screen won't be the last Pokémon you had out, like I do for Charizard here, but will instead be the next Pokémon, which is Squirtle. And we can see it again where I lose my last stock as Squirtle, and the victory screen shows Ivysaur. Next, it's mentioned how if Pokémon Trainer is present in an 8-player Smash match, the sound effects for the transition to the results screen will be out of sync.
Pokémon Trainer! You all did great!
Yeah, that's some chunky lag. Even when I played with everyone as Ice Climbers, this didn't happen.
Ice Climber!
I guess Pokémon Trainer brings some real extra baggage, huh? Next, the wiki talks about how if you mod the game to allow characters to be KO'd during a result screen, if a Pokemon for Pokemon Trainer gets KO'd here, then their animation will actually change from the normal victory screen one to the defeated one, which is super interesting. Obviously, I couldn't do that myself, so major props to Vicero Games for having recorded that. Their channel is absolutely full of modded content and is super interesting, I recommend it. And lastly, for Pokemon Trainer, it's mentioned how Squirtle and Ivysaur are the only characters in the game to not have an announcer voice clip by Xander Mobus. Since when you select Pokemon Trainer, he just announces
Pokemon Trainer!
And in Smash 4, Charizard was all by his lonesome, so we got an announcement line for him from that.
Charizard!
So, poor Squirtle and Ivysaur don't have their names announced. Must suck. Also, I went to the wiki pages for each individual Pokemon and did find a few additional things. For one, in the past video, I mentioned how the wiki says Squirtle is one of the few characters who makes a different facial expression for grabs. Due to the context, I thought they meant after missing a grab like the other two, which ended up just not being true, but it's actually during the grab attempt. For his standing grab and dash grab, he looks happy during the attempt, but for his pivot grab, he looks angry for the first few frames before eventually going back to a happy expression. So I just felt like clarifying that. Next, when Ivysaur performs a ledge jump, you'll see that they switch which arm they're using to hold the ledge, and their body has their back facing the screen, which heavily suggests that this is again an unintentional carryover from Brawl, and this happens on either side of the stage. And for Charizard, one entry mentions how one of the in-game tips says that his wings won't take damage for his up tilt, even though this isn't actually true. In this game they added a hurt box to his wings, which we can easily visualize in training mode by giving him a superstar and turning on the visualizer for invincibility. It's not perfect, but his hurt box definitely covers some of his wings, so this is likely a carryover from Smash 4, where his wings actually didn't possess hurt boxes. And lastly, for all these Pokemon, it's mentioned how, during triple finish, Charizard is seen using Fire Blast 5 times for the entire move, which is the exact number of base PP the move has in the games. I'm not sure if that was done intentionally or if that's how it just worked out, but that's pretty funny. Also yeah, which moves they're using in the final Smash are indeed specified. In case you didn't know, Squirtle uses Hydro Pump, Ivysaur uses Solar Beam, and Charizard uses Fire Blast, just like we said. And lastly for today's video is Diddy Kong's page, which had some of the fewest entries in the trivia section, and I didn't find any of them particularly compelling, so yeah, I guess we're just ending on that note. Awesome, cool. So yeah, that'll be today's video. I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode as usual. Sorry again if my voice sounds off or whatnot, my allergies are really going crazy, which sucks, but whatever. Though honestly, speaking of my voice, lately I get a lot of comments of people being like, "Hey PK, are you okay? You sound kinda sad or uninterested," and that type of vibe. And honestly, I don't really get it. Like sure, my voice does vary in how it sounds depending on what time of day I recorded the audio. Like today I recorded the lines for this video somewhere near the morning, so I sound generally less energetic than I would if I recorded them, say, at night. And obviously my allergies aren't really helping. But I don't know, I don't really agree with the idea. Though since enough people seem to share the sentiment, I do imagine there is at least some basis for it. I mean, okay, in the past, I guess I did sound more energetic maybe, but I also still try to give off that sorta deadpan vibe that I think is funny, which is also just generally how I talk. I guess it's just that I have slightly less energy now than before, which I promise is not due to fatigue or apathy or anything like that, but rather me just trying to gradually become more down to earth with my voiceovers. So I guess I appreciate the concern some of those comments show, but really guys, my mentality of how I treat this whole YouTube thing is not different now than it was 1 or 2 years ago, at least in most areas, you know? I do plan on doing a Q&A in the near-ish future, which I'll make a community post about. So I guess I could go more in-depth depending on what questions I get, for all the 4 people who even watch that type of content anyways. So yeah, sorry about that ramble. Again, I hope you're enjoying the content on this channel and all that. And with that, I'd like to thank my patrons Raighne, Skully, Sylvian700, Burbo, SickanDaDank, and everyone else for their support. Stay casual, and I'll see y'all later.